Someone pays you a compliment, your work is good, your idea landed, they are impressed, and your first instinct before the gratitude, before anything else, is to explain why they are wrong. You think they do not have the full picture. They do not know how long it actually took. They do not know how many times you almost gave up or got lucky or borrowed the idea from somewhere else. And underneath all of that is a quieter, more persistent thought. They are going to figure it out. Not today, maybe. But eventually someone is going to look more closely and realize that the version of you they have decided to believe in does not actually exist. And you will be there when it happens. Waiting. Because some part of you has been waiting for that moment for a long time. People have a name for this feeling. They call it low self-esteem, lack of confidence, not believing in yourself enough. The advice that follows is usually some variation of the same thing. Just own it, back yourself, fake it until you make it. You have probably tried all of it. You have stood in front of mirrors telling yourself you are capable. You have made lists of your accomplishments and tried to feel something when you read them. And the feeling comes back anyway. The quiet certainty that you are one close inspection away from being found out. Society often treats this as nothing more than a confidence problem. But here is what nobody tells you. The people who feel this most intensely are not the least capable people in the room. They are often the most capable. And the fact that they feel this way is not evidence of a defect. It is evidence of exactly the opposite. The diagnosis is wrong. You do not have a confidence problem. You have a miscalibrated compass. Think of it this way. A compass is a precision instrument. It is built to register the smallest variations in magnetic field, fine enough to tremble at a shift you would never consciously notice. That sensitivity is exactly what makes it accurate. But if a compass is placed near a strong enough source of interference, it does not stop working. It just starts pointing in the wrong direction. It is still functioning with complete precision. It is just aimed at the wrong thing. Your self-assessment system works the same way. It is precise, it is sensitive, and it is constantly processing information. The problem is not that it is broken. The problem is that the input it has been given, years of misdirected comparison, impossible standards, and a cultural obsession with certainty as a marker of competence, has caused it to aim at the wrong reference point. The fraud feeling is not the result of a broken instrument. It is the result of a well-functioning instrument that was calibrated incorrectly, and a miscalibrated compass can be reset. The experience has a name. When psychologists Pauline, Clance, and Suzanne Imes first identified it in 1978, they were not studying people who lacked ability. They were studying minds like yours, high-achieving women with every visible marker of competence, degrees, recognition, real accomplishment, who privately believed they had somehow talked their way into a room they did not belong in. They called it the imposter phenomenon. What they found is that this experience is not rare, and it is not limited to any particular group. Later research found the imposter phenomenon across high-achieving populations of all kinds: successful professionals, academics, entrepreneurs, artists, people who, from the outside, looked like exactly the kind of person who should feel confident, and who, from the inside, felt like they were one moment of scrutiny away from exposure. But here is the piece that changes everything. The research also found a consistent pattern in who experiences this most intensely. It is not the people who know the least. It is often the people who know the most. Psychologists have a name for the broader pattern this connects to. They often call it the Dunning-Kruger effect. Most people only know half of it. The half that says people with less skill or knowledge tend to overestimate their own ability because they lack the expertise to see what they are missing. But there is another part of the pattern that matters here. As genuine expertise grows, awareness of complexity tends to grow with it. The more you actually understand a field, the more clearly you can see the boundaries of your own knowledge. You can see what you do not know. You can see the depth you have not yet mastered. And because your assessment system is precise and well-functioning, you register that gap accurately. The person who knows very little does not see those gaps. They do not have the knowledge required to identify what they are missing. The result is a counterintuitive dynamic. The less someone knows, the more confident they often feel. The more someone knows, the more aware they become of their own limitations. Your fraud feeling is not your incompetence speaking. It is your competence making you aware of how much more there is. This does not make the discomfort pleasant. It makes it informative. It is data about how much you actually understand, not evidence that you do not belong. That distinction matters because one of those readings keeps you stuck, and the other lets you keep going. The second layer involves what psychologists call attribution bias, the internal process we use to explain why things happen. Research suggests that many high achievers and people prone to the imposter experience tend to attribute their successes to external factors, luck, timing, the help of others, and their failures to internal ones, their own deficiencies. Here is what that actually looks like. You spend 3 weeks preparing for a presentation. It goes well. Your first thought is not that your preparation worked. It is that the audience was easy, or generous, or in a good mood. This attribution pattern is not random. It is reinforced every time something goes well. The project succeeded because the timing was right. The presentation landed because the room was kind. I was just in the right place. And every time something goes wrong, the attribution flips. That was my fault. That exposed something real about me. Over time, this creates a ledger where nothing you succeed at actually counts as evidence of your capability. It all gets filed under luck. Only the failures get filed under you. And every time you do this, your internal compass drifts a little further from true north. Understanding this pattern does not automatically dissolve it, but it does give you something to work with. These 3 tools interrupt the imposter cycle at different points. The first tool is called the evidence file. Here is something else your brain does that nobody warned you about. It tends to remember threats and failures more vividly than it remembers wins. Psychologists describe this as a negativity bias in memory, and it means your fraud feeling is not only working from a skewed attribution ledger, it is also working from a memory system that was never built to weight your successes fairly in the first place. The evidence file corrects that. Create a simple, ongoing document. Every time you receive specific, concrete evidence of your competence, write it down, not compliments. Compliments are easy to dismiss, specific outcomes, the problem you solved that no one else had cracked, the decision you made that held up over time. The moment someone came to you specifically because of what you know or what you can do, write those down. Then when the fraud feeling peaks, open the file. You are not trying to talk yourself into confidence. You are giving your memory something objective to compete against. The second tool is called the Attribution Reset. This is where you intervene directly in the attribution bias you just named. When something goes well, your default is to give the credit away. The Attribution Reset interrupts that reflex with a deliberate question. Ask yourself, what did I specifically do that contributed to this outcome? Not to take credit from others, not to inflate your role, just to identify your actual contribution accurately. Write it down. 1 sentence. This outcome happened in part because I did this specific thing. You are training the attribution system to file successes under the right category. Over time, the ledger starts to balance. The third tool is called the Gap Reframe. When you become aware of how much you do not know, your instinct is to treat that awareness as evidence that you do not belong. The Gap Reframe reverses that interpretation. The gap between what you know and everything there is left to know is not a sign that you are in the wrong room. It is a sign that you are in a room with enough depth to keep your precise, sensitive, high-functioning mind engaged indefinitely. People who have no awareness of the gap are not more competent than you. They have just not gone far enough to see it yet. Beginners see certainty. Experts see depth, and the fact that you can see the depth means you are already past the shallow end. So here's what is actually true. You are not a fraud. You are not one close inspection away from exposure. And the feeling that you are is not evidence of your inadequacy. It is evidence of your precision. Your self-assessment system is sensitive enough to detect the complexity of what you do not yet know. Your attribution system has been filing your successes under luck and your failures under character for so long that the ledger has stopped telling the truth. Build the evidence file, run the attribution reset, reframe the gap, and the next time someone pays you a compliment and your first instinct is to explain why they are wrong, take a breath and let the possibility in, that the version of you they have decided to believe in is not an illusion. It might just be the version your own instrument has been too precise to fully see. The fraud feeling is not evidence of your incompetence. It is evidence of your intelligence, and you have been using it against yourself for long enough. Now, if you are watching this and realizing that it is not just success that feels threatening, but everything does when you are overwhelmed, that sometimes the whole system just shuts down and goes blank and you do not know why, that is exactly what the next video is about. Because there is a name for what happens when your nervous system hits its limit, and it is not weakness. Click this video right here. I will see you over there.